Good morning and welcome to this morning's slightly late, as usual, Berardi and Coke. I'm Gilly and I am joined this morning by late substitution, pod dodger extraordinaire himself. Carl, how are we doing this morning?
I'm all right, yeah, it's not too bad. It's a good Sunday.
Good man. And plenty for us to get into. So we will have an introduction and then we'll get straight into it.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
You look like fucking Brolin, you're a Leeds eating bastard.
Look like some sort of fucking weird floating head. No.
He's a utensil player a bit, innit?
I mean, I feel a bit right, dickhead.
Nothing spectacular, really.
You look like fucking Brolin and you're a Leeds 18 bastard.
Tell you what, the internet never lies, does it?
I liked that intro when I put it together, and it just grows on me more. I know that we've said about the little bit at the end, nothing spectacular really, and when it is spectacular, we go, do you know what? That's not true. And when it's not spectacular, we go, yeah, that's true. But I just think, just in general, some of those comments there, it just shows some of the fun that we have on this, and it's been a fun weekend for football. I think it's fair to say. We'll start off. We are a Leeds United podcast, so we'll start off there. So Wednesday night we played. Friday night we played against Sheffield Wednesday.
It's caught us out more than once.
Yeah. So I think if we look at just going into the game, the starting lineup, the expected lineup that we had, were there any surprises there for you?
I don't think there was, to be fair. I thought even though we only drew the last game, I think the team that started showed enough to be able to start again against Wednesday on Friday night. I need to be careful there. It's going to trip me up at some point. I did enjoy it. I thought we asked for a reaction from the previous Saturday, and I think we got it. I'm not sure if you've got the possession graph this morning.
We'll pop that up in a little while. I do neglect to credit that. So I lift the graph from SofaScore. And it just gives us a bit of an indication of, the attacking momentum and the position that we're in over the course of the game. So for audio listeners, you won't get that. So apologies, but you'll be able to find it on SofaScore if you go and have a look. It shows the attacking momentum across the course of whichever game you put in. So we can have a look at. It gives an overall feel of the game because it's not just about possession stats, which sometimes doesn't tell the full story if a side's just knocking the ball around the defence and whatever else. It shows the attacking momentum. So it is possession, but it's also possession and where on the pitch and how dangerous the attack momentum is. So, I'll pop that up in a little while.
Yeah, sound. But yeah, like you were saying there, the possession percentage doesn't necessarily give the overall picture of how the game actually flowed and ebbed and flowed, rather. I was at the game now on Friday night, and it was one of those games. I think I expected to go into it, and get the win. I went 2-1 on the pod and 2-0. It wasn't far off. I still only get 1 point for it now, mine. But I was happy with the performance. I thought Nanto's link-up play with Rutter and Bamford was a lot better than it had been in the previous game, I think. I thought that Ampadu and Rodon absolutely solid at the back again, as normal. I saw someone put up a tweet, not going too off topic, but if we were to win the league, who'd lift the trophy? Because we've club captain Cooper, we'd standing captain Strike until he got injured, and now we've standing captain Ampadu. I think it'll be a first when all three lift it on the final day, But that'll be a weird one. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
When all three lift it on the final day, did you say? I think the best thing about that would be the guard of honor that Saints would have to give us, having been part of it, and then obviously being out of the picture, as they say.
would you put that as sweet as Derby having to give us the guard of honor? You wouldn't put it as sweet as that.
Frank Lampard's and Wayne Rooney's Derby County.
Yeah,
I mean, the amount of shithousery, the with the binoculars, click in the stands, Ben White with at the end of the game, beating them while pissed. I mean, that day was just, it was immense, wasn't it? It's a massive shame that we weren't able to be there. But that, for me, adding on the Spygate nonsense that had gone beforehand, and just all of that just culminated in that. That was immense. But we would be going back to the Premier League, and we would be going there in our own backyard this time, with a full Elland Road, with somebody that believed that they were part of the title race that may or may not still be, because do you know what? They've still owes Ipswich and Leicester to play. Now, they'll need to still be in it by the last game of the season, because obviously it's us on the last day. But I think if they are still in with the running, in with a chance after this running, I think they deserve that chance, because they do have to play. They've got Preston. Their games have all been smashed together as well. So the Leicester game was deferred for the FA Cup. You've got the fact that the Preston one was cancelled because of a fire outside the ground. So now they've got 2 additional games to play in what was already a fairly busy schedule. So if they come out of that and go into the last day with a chance at automatic still in their hands, then do you know what? Fair play to them. They deserve that chance. I can't see it. So, but yeah, you're taking us off topic anyway. I said that we'd focus on Leeds first.
Yeah. That's very true. Sorry, I got a bit sidetracked there. I'm just getting excited, Gilly. I'm just getting excited, But
you know what? If you can't be excited right now, when can you be? So we do have we do have a guest with us, but just before we bring him on, I'm just going to pop up that attack momentum piece. So I think you can see there were a couple of periods in the first half where actually up to the point where we really dominated towards the end of that half, it would not be inconceivable to say that they were at least as good, if not slightly better than we were in terms of the attack momentum that they'd had. I think if you look at the second half, that tells a different story until towards the end of the game, when they had to chase the game. And although the momentum does show that they had the ball and they had good possession, they had a couple of chances. I never really felt like it was going to slip away from us. I know that there were a couple of things. There were a Meslier double save and a Melier, should I say, double save. And but then Ampadu still had to clear it off the line behind him. So they did almost score. It almost felt to me like if they'd have got one, we'd have just gone and got another anyway. It felt like that kind of game, and it felt that if we needed that impetus, that we'd just go and do it. Dan James were on. At that point, I just think we could have just gone and got another one if we needed it. We just, at the point in time, we were almost like we were coasting to an easy 2-0 win. Which, do you know what? That's not Leedsy at all, is it? We would have conceded in bygone era.
But that's the thing, and the fact that we were able to see it out going off the stats you just showed there, getting the possession stats. It's like they were on quite a good run. They'd won 4 and 5. They'd won 4 and drawn 5, or drawn 1 in their last 5. So to kind of look at where they are in the Premier, or in the Championship rather, and for us to get that result, it's a tricky away tie, regardless of what kind of form they're on. But to go into that game with the form that they were on, it was a good result. It was strong. I think we showed that we can finally put the away kit nonsense to bed. Well, even though it was the
no,
kit.
Absolutely not. Do you know what? We'd be promoted by now if we had decent kits.
Nah. We'd be promoted by now if we didn't have a bunch of rats leaving the ship at the start of the season and left us hanging.
Also true.
But I'm officially digging a shallow grave and putting that kit rumored crap into it. And if anyone wants to go out the forest and find it, you're more than welcome. But I'm putting it in there.
I'm going because I still. Do you know what? if we would have never been relegated either, if we'd have had a simple blue third kit, yellow away kit, white home kit, everything would have been fine. We'd have never had to have had Jesse Marsh. It's the kit that drives all of that. Right, okay, so we're going to bring somebody in. So hopefully, because I'm just looking at him in the green room, in effect. Yep, thumbs up. He's got his hair done. We're all sorted. Makeup's done. All the touch-ups. Morning, nice. Matt. How are we doing?
Good.
And he's got the kit on.
He's got that kit on. Look. We were just putting it in a shallow grave there, Matt.
Not the rhubarb, to be fair, but the away kit. How are we doing, Matt?
Oh, good, yeah. It was a good performance. Ampadu was amazing. I thought Ampadu was absolutely amazing. Saved us multiple times. I mean, that save in the first half by Melier from the corner was unbelievable. I think that should have been 1-0. Yeah, a great performance.
Yeah, it was. I think one of my favourite things about Ampadu throughout the entire day, and I don't know if you've seen this, because it was only... So immediately after the game, obviously, they speak to some of the players and then they speak to the managers. And when they were speaking to the players, they were speaking to Joe Rodon and they were speaking to Ampadu. It only showed it after the fact, but when they went along to present the Player of the Match award, it was only just before actually they cut to the pair of them that Ampadu found out it was him. He thought he was presenting it to Rodon, and he was there celebrating just before the cut to him.
I did see that. It was nice. Yeah. They were actually taking the mick out of him in the Sky Sports studio as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
That was funny, man. Oh, fair play to him, though. You could see it. It means a lot to him.
Absolutely. And I think that's the important thing, isn't it? There's been some of the players, Jimmy's had some shit. I've said, in terms of the impact it's having on games recently, somewhat off the boil compared with the remarkable form he had earlier in the season. It's not saying that he's playing badly, just that his form hasn't been as good as his earlier season form. But you can see not only is there a boatload of personality in this squad, but there's a togetherness, and it means so much to all of them. If you look at Ampadu, he were at Chelsea. Paddy I don't think it's unfair to say journeyman. Rodon had gone to Spurs, which were a massive step up from Swansea, and then it's not really worked out for him. There is a collective where players have not really hit the heights that they were hoping, and this is really another chance for them, and they are taking it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think if we do focus on the first half at first, so Matt, assuming weren't at the game because you're not still travelling back home again.
Yeah, it'd be a long away day for Matt.
Yeah, so we'll have watched on TV. I'm assuming. So first thing I want to ask is, did it come across for you that Sky, being fucking shit, we're trying to mask that with some of the audio, but they managed it really badly? Did that come across?
I didn't have the audio on. I don't listen to the audio.
Fair. I think that is fair. So I think if we just take the first half, then I don't. Did you get to see the attack momentum graph that I popped up there?
Yeah.
So if we cut it into quarters, we're not going NFL. It's not a 49ers thing. We just say so. The first half of that first half, on the face of it, it looked like we were reasonably in control. We had much of the ball. We had it in good areas. Towards the end of that first half, it kind of transpires that they'd shifted that and they'd got a foothold in the game. Is that the way that you saw it? And what do you put the shifting momentum down to?
I was watching it during the first half. It looked like they were just the better team. Honestly, it didn't look like we were doing that much. They looked like the better team watching it in the first half until the final 5-10 minutes, really, until we started getting into it. That's what it felt like watching it. That was just they were attacking. We couldn't get it up front, really. Rutter, I don't know where Rutter was sometimes. We would move it into the middle, and Rutter would just not be there, in the position he's supposed to be in. I don't know where he was sometimes. But yeah, it felt like they did well. It looked like they did well in the first half, and they were pretty good at stopping Somerville and Rutter, which I think both of them have kind of had a dip in form recently. Especially Somerville. I think he's had 5 games in a row where he's done nothing really. So yeah.
Do you think Matt
I think done nothing might be slightly? Go on, Cal. You got
Sorry, no. Do you think is that down to the fact that I've noticed more so now that Rudder and Somerville seem to be double teamed on a regular basis when they get on the ball, but we're not using that opportunity to try and exploit the space we have on the right then, which came to fruition when we got those goals against. We got the goal against Huddersfield. It came down the right hand side with Roberts and James. So, do you think is that something we should start to kind of use, when we see that we're being doubled up on, make the quick switch, because it worked against Huddersfield?
Yeah, I feel like, but also I feel like it might be harsh, but maybe you would drop Somerville, not drop him, but maybe on the bench for like one game, because let him get a rest, because every time he has like these performances where he's not up to his level, all you hear is like, oh, he has like a little niggle, he has like an injury still, he's still carrying a knock, and everyone's saying that. Then why don't you start Nonto and James? Give him a little break, because
it's good that we have those options now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good that we have those options.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you there, man.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was just going to say, I think it is somewhat harsh, around Jimmy, although he's not scored, and to be fair, not got the assists either. He has still looked dangerous. I think that there's a tendency from him, the way that I read his game, the way that I watch him play, I think there's a tendency for him. He's almost doing himself a bit of a disservice, because he's still a good player and he's still impactful. But what he's doing is holding onto the ball slightly too long and trying to do the more intricate things. And it's almost, I do hesitate to say this, because this could get clipped and this could look really bad, but it's almost a touch of the Tyler Roberts about it. He's a better player than Tyler Roberts. He's better than Tyler Roberts ever was, but he had a tendency to try to show what he could do by just overplaying all the time. And it almost feels like Somerville might have fallen into that. But he was very, very unlucky not to get himself on the score sheet when he were played in towards the end. I think it was Nonto that played it through. It was slide rule ball into the box. He ran onto it. I mean, that were a brilliant save by, let's be fair, their child that played in goal.
Yeah,
he's on loan from Brighton, and I thought that Beadle had a really, really good game, and I thought that it could have been a bit more of a cricket score if he'd have not been playing for him on the day.
So pressure on such a young keeper, though, wasn't it? Like, I know we've got Meslier in goal, like, but that's at least Meslier kind of got a chance to play behind closed doors to kind of integrate himself a little bit into the team and the squad, and he wasn't getting the abuse from the fans, whatever. But that lad's got a bright future by all means, but it's tough coming into that team when they were playing the way they were and struggling in front of goal, really, by all accounts. But yeah, he's done all right.
Yeah, agreed. And then if we look at the first half in totality, we've seen the momentum was in our favour. It then moved into their favour, and you do expect a home side to have at least some, even where they are in terms of their league position. But having said that, you look at their form, or as you said, you look at their form over the games coming into that fixture, and they've been playing well, and they have signed a genuine goal threat who, across all of the players that were on show on Friday night, was the form player in terms of goals. So they do have an attacking threat now, a genuine goal threat in their side. So I think it was one of those where you do expect a home side to have a little bit of time in the game. But how much, Carl, I'll come to you for this one, how much does that change the dynamic of halftime, the halftime team talks, when there's a goal scored right on the cusp of halftime?
I think that's massive. I think we come out in a different frame of mind once we get that goal. Like, I saw the Sheffield Wednesday manager. He was complaining about it being 10 seconds into like 5 minutes at the end of the game, at the end of the first half. And you're like, come on, man. Like, if the shoe was on the other foot, you wouldn't be complaining about that. You'd be like, right, yeah, we got one before half time. I think that completely changes how we play in the second half. I think we started to play a little bit freer, where we didn't look like, Jesus, we need a goal here, and we were getting desperate and we were getting panicky. I thought we did start to play with more freedom, but we were still, very much on the back foot for portions of it, because they weren't afraid to keep coming at us. But I think our overall quality, be it from the first kick off to the subs that came on, I think was just, it was something that we have in our locker, that even if teams run at us for long periods of time and try and close us down, we still have that little edge where we've players that we can bring on that some others don't at the moment. And I think being 1-0 up and then 2-0 up and being able to bring on the players we brought on, that's enough to frighten any team, to be fair. And it does have a psychological effect on teams. When they see the likes of Dan James coming on, they're like, geez, we've had Nanto running at us for the last 60, 70 minutes, and now we've got this lunatic coming onto us. And it's psychologically, that can definitely mess with a team's head, regardless of how well they're playing, I think, you know. But overall, I think the second half performance was down to getting that late goal in the first half. I think we'd have come out playing differently, tried to cut them off a little bit more, which, you know, was evident in the chart you brought up there, Gilly, where they did have a lot of possession around the midpoint of the first half, little spells here and there, but then we started to get on top of things and you could see it change. So it's nice to see that when we do go in at halftime, that if we are a goal up, then we know what kind of football is going to start coming in the second half. We're going to go and we're going to try and play a little freer, and we're going to try and get a couple more, which we were unlucky not to get. I thought Somerville, with the form he's been on recently, I thought he should have easily finished that. That's bread and butter for him, considering the way he's been finishing. I thought he chose the wrong side for the keeper, in all honesty. He looked a bit off balance as well when he took his shot, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I've been advocating for Nanto in that 10 role because he can find them little passes. And I'm not saying other players can't, but I just think when Somerville and Nanto work well together, we saw that kind of pass can come off, and it can probably come off a lot more if, you know, we try and, like I said it on, I think it was on Joe's pod, and I was basically saying that I'd like to see us start rotating the wide too.
Podcast friends.
Podcast friends. I said I'd like to see us rotating the front three quite regularly. So maybe a 5-minute spell where Nanto comes in the middle and Rutter goes out wide right, just to kind of pull their midfield and their defence around a bit. Because if they've kind of tactically wanted to double up on the two main aggravators for us, then by swapping them around a bit, we're pulling their defence around, and no one's quite sure who's going to double up on who once we pull them around a little bit. So I'd maybe like to see a little bit more of that. I think we have the three players there that can definitely play in that 10 role and find that little pass. But maybe that's something to kind of look at further down the line when the games are getting a little tighter. We find we're getting a little bit kicked a little bit more often, and then just kind of change it up a bit. But overall, I'm quite happy with how the front four played on Friday night against Wednesday.
Did we not do that in this game? Because there was a moment where I saw Bamford on the wing. I was like, why is he out on the wing? There was a moment where I think Rutter started to like shift wide a bit sometimes. So yeah, maybe we're trying to learn that now, like learn that, like, to improve it.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't watched any highlights on any extended highlights or anything like that. So I guess you kind of look at it differently when you're kind of looking at the game from in the stadium. But they did seem like they were interchangeable, but not to the extent that I would kind of expect it to happen, where you'd want to, you know, maybe put Somerville out on the right for a little while, because, you know, at some point someone's going to kick him and give him get a yellow card. So, you know, bits like that is where I'd be kind of thinking, yeah, swap them around and, you know, get the boys booked up here, and then they can't double up anymore, and then it leaves them with less options to be able to attack us in, you know, the ferocious way that they did with some of the challenges, you know. So that's the way I'd be looking at it.
I really like Herbert's comment here, who likes what is seen as chrysanthemum dropping into the 10 rolling spells. I don't think that's a nickname that's going to catch on, to be honest.
No, but
so,
nice
so we've got. I assume that would have been Crescenzio.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything else that would have been. So
he's on his phone and autocorrect has shafted him.
Yeah. So I think so. Matt, I come to you now. So we've scored that goal right at the death of the first half. It sets the scene then for the second half, and we come out and it sets the platform from there to go and express, doesn't it? Because I think when we've seen other sides that get in front, what they'll do is they'll try and shut up shop. And actually, that's where we struggle. I think if it is a side that's going to come and play football against us, that's where we can really impact sides. So just, you know, I think the comment that Carl's made there is fair. Would you have expected any changes at halftime, bearing in mind the way that the first half had gone?
Not really. Like normally I'd say leave him on till like the 65th minute no matter what and just see how it goes. Because sometimes Fark can get into halftime and change a few things or tell them a few things and then they come out different in the second half. But I mean, after we scored, I'm like, oh, I think we were going to win anyway because I feel like once we score, they have to play more attacking and they have to press more so we can play our game. Yeah. Where if we concede or it's 0-0, then they can just continue playing like defensive football.
Yeah. I think, you know, if you look at their run, they'd won the previous 4 going into that game and they dominated probably 20, 25 minutes of that first half. So the question was kind of, it was working for them and actually we've picked them off. But it does give us that platform then for it to go on, doesn't it? So from the starters then, in that first half and then into the second, who was your standout player before we started seeing the changes? Who was it that stuck out for you?
Oh, Ampadu. He was stopping everything. Like every time they had an attack, he was the one. Like he was mainly the one making the tackles. I'd say. I mean, Rodon would just header him out like he always does. I think he uses his head more than any part of his body every single time. But yeah, Ampadu stopped a couple, and it was weird that he was the one that got the yellow card in the end. I mean, it was a good professional foul, but. Yeah.
It was needed, and you know that's been a frustration of ours throughout the season. Is that sides have been doing that against us, but you are right, yeah. And if they're getting away with it, then why shouldn't we?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams have been getting away with that a lot this season, and we definitely haven't. Like you saw Rutter's soft foul that he got a yellow card for against Huddersfield, and it's like
still a sore point.
Come
that
on,
one.
Man. We should have had about 4 red cards for Huddersfield already. Like, don't be, booking them because you want to level the playing field. Give me a break, like.
So, I know you said you'd not watched the game back. There were just a couple of, a few things that. So I watched the extended highlights this morning. First off, to refresh your mind on exactly what had happened, because there's been a lot of football since that's played, and we'll come on to that as well. But also because my little man's not been too well, so there's been no sleep here. I've got a pint of coffee, and then I've got Pepsi to follow that up. So hopefully that gets us through. I could really do with a monster and hay fever to boot, but these are the things, and we get through it. So I did watch the extended highlights just to remind myself exactly what had happened during the game. One of the first things, Meslier made a cracking save in the first half with his feet. I don't understand how he managed to keep that out. And it wasn't that he was setting it hit him. He did move to save the ball, and that combined with the double save. If he's not on his game, and it feels to me like he's got some form back and he's got some confidence back and he's playing that bit better. We even saw him catch it against Huddersfield Town, which was remarkable. So, I think some of the saves he's making at the moment, keeping us in the game is not right to say, but they are crucial saves at crucial times. So I think it's worthy of mention. I think it's also worthy of mentioning that in that first half, when there were periods where they had the ball and they had the ball in good areas, that we did see Nonto tracking back and putting the effort in defensively that in the past we may not have seen from him. I don't know how much of that is just them enjoying their football and just loving playing for Daniel Farke, playing for Leeds. I think it's just that he's in that position now where that's his place to lose. It's been made really clear that that's his place to lose. He's scored another goal, and he's just genuinely enjoying his football at the moment, I think. So I think it was worth saying that. The comment you made, Matt, as well about Rutter and the positioning, to me, it looked like he really fancied a goal. He had double effort. So Ampadu played the ball long, didn't he? Played it over the top. I don't know if you remember him scoring one earlier in the season, and he did put it away. He brought it down. The keeper's made another good save, and then he's lifted it over him. It's cleared off the line. So Rutter's another one that actually was unfortunate not to get a goal. And I think if Somerville and if Rutter, if they're finishing their chances off, like I said, it could have run to being a cricket score. So I think just in terms of overall, so I'm going to fly through some of the comments. Thank you for starring some of those, Carl. But before I do, I'm just going to come and ask the question. So overall, we've spoken about So, Matt, I think I might know what your answer is here, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. So we've spoken about Ampadu, we've spoken about Bamford, we mentioned him, Ruta, Somerville, Nonto. They've all been mentioned. Carl, I'll come to you first because I don't really know what your answer is going to be yet. Oh, and we mentioned Millie as well. Man of the match? Who stuck out for you overall?
I'm going to go with Meslier. Strictly because early doors in that game, that save that you were talking about in the first half, that wasn't a lucky save. That was, he closed the space down. He knew when to close it down, and he got a touch when it was needed. One or two others in that second half as well. You got to give him credit. I think, like you said, he's come back to some form of, I don't want to say decent form. He's always got some, he's always got half decent form on him. Like, it's the confidence in the players ahead of him that's probably bringing it out more for him as well. And as a centre back, like, if you're not good enough, then your keeper is going to be worried a lot of the time. And
then you end up not playing well together, and it's you end up second guessing each other. If you're not confident in your keeper, you do things that otherwise you wouldn't be doing, and it just breeds that thing in the back of your mind of he's going to get this wrong. And you do things that you wouldn't otherwise do if you had that confidence in your fellow players. Yeah,
I'm not passing it to him now because, quite frankly, I'm not sure where he's going to skew it. I'm not going to show it, and there doesn't seem to be any of that between. Like, that's a nice little triangle to have at the back is Meslier, Rodon, and Ampadu, because we know Rodon's strong as an ox. You're right, Matt. He clears everything with whatever body part he can get in front of it. Ampadu has that composure to be able to bring it out and play it over the top or find, an opportunity out wide or down the middle. Like, it's mad because we saw that Ampadu played centre-back for the last 3 or 4 teams that he's played for, and they all got relegated. I don't know what those managers were doing with them, because he's absolutely fantastic at the back. Like, he's as good at the back as he is in midfield. And it just beggars the question, what kind of tactics were these managers using for this particular thing? I'm not arguing with it, because it kept his price low and we got him for 7 million. So I'm okay with it.
I mean, what a price that is.
Yeah, I'm telling you. But yeah,
no, that's fair.
Meslier all day for me.
Okay. Matt, I think I might know your answer, but go for it anyway.
Yeah, it's Ampadu.
No, that's fair.
Sorry, you have the good defensive work. I mean, the clear off the line when Meslier made 2 good saves. It's not his fault that the attacker got there, because I feel like someone should have been sharper to it beforehand. But yeah, he cleared off the line. I mean, he had the ball over the top to Rutter, and I think he had one over the top as well to Bamford as well, which he could have been in as well. So yeah.
No, that's fair. And I think when you look at them, the fact that it was Rodon and Ampadu at the end that the media was speaking to is absolutely not a surprise. And with the record they've got, somebody's just mentioned in the comments, it's already gone because the comments are flying today. So we can see how positive people are at the moment. Here we go. It had been started. Steve Brown, we haven't conceded a goal from open play in 12 matches. The 3 we've conceded have all been from set pieces. I think when you can talk about stats like that, how could you not be confident in the defence in front of you?
Yeah.
How could you not take that positivity? So it is a massive deal. I think there is a slight worry that we've conceded 3 from set pieces, but at the same time, we are coming up against sides that focus specifically on that because they don't have the attacking impetus for other things. So it's getting to the positions. We saw Huddersfield Town, we saw Wednesday, there were 5 at the back. There were a tight defensive unit because sides that are not, we're going to pick off and we're just going to batter them. So I think it's expected that we see that. You saw Liam Palmer dropping into that back line, which actually made them 6 at the back with the old superstar with his comb over in the midfield, Barry Bannon. And then just trying to hit Ugbo really, really quickly, who, as I say, was there on the goal threat. And if they win something further up the pitch, then they can get the defenders forward. Huddersfield Town were exactly the same. They've got one player that's good at putting a ball in, and it got them some joy. That's what earned them the result against us. It's not cynical. It's just something that we don't take advantage of, and other sides do. So I think it is one of those. But at the same time, it's for me, And as you said, I did play at centre-back. For me, it's the pride in the clean sheet and the pride in the fighting for each other. I don't know if you've had a chance to hear it yet, but Roberts has been on the official Leeds United podcast with Bridgie and Co. And he was talking about, as they were growing up, and obviously they all knew each other, he and Dan James and Rodon and Co. They'd go play rugby, and what they were doing is, they were coming up against kids, and these kids were like 6'6", and they were 4'8" or whatever he said. But do you know what? They were all game for it, and they'd all fly into the tackles, and if there were any afters, then they'd all be in. And I think basically Roberts was saying is, yeah, I'm still up for that. I've got to rein myself in because I'll be straight in and then I get red carded and then everybody hates you. Do you know what? I love that. And you can see that in Rodon as well. They're just up for it. And I think it's been so long. When we watched Bielsa, it was something completely different, wasn't it? He was, he's such genuinely a good man, a good person. And he instilled that in everybody. That was one of the first things they looked at. Is this the person, the right fit to come into this club? And we had lots of good people involved in the club at that time. I like a bit of edge. I do like a bit of an edge to somebody, and they've got that. And that I think there's a layer of character in there as well, and that for me brings that togetherness. So I'm just enjoying that bit of it as well. There's a certain element of joy that I can take from that, and I just like watching defenders do what they do well.
Yeah,
is that a general thing, or is that just a quirk of mine?
I love watching defenders defend when they defend well and they defend hard. I love good hard tackling and fair, obviously, but when you can go into a tackle, there was a clip put online there during the week, and it was I don't mean to go off topic, but it's kind of on topic. It was a clip of a dude who was playing in the Vanarama League. He was 39. The ball, I don't know if anyone saw it. The ball went into the corner, chased by the defender or the attacker, and he just went in and he absolutely put him into the stand, but he won the ball first. And I absolutely love that. And everyone's like, "Oh, this is contentious. Should this have been a red card?" If that's a red card, the game's gone. Game is gone. So I'm all for hard tackling. I'm all for, do it fair, but absolutely take ball and man. That's why I'm still waffling, Gilly. Take ball and man.
Fine. My AirPods died, so.
What have you put in now?
I'm here now.
Oh, it's out.
No, I'm on speaker, so if I'm echoing, you'll have to let me know.
No, you seem all right, man. But yeah, that's just the point I was trying to make. Back home when I was coaching under 16s and under 18s women's, right? And there was one of the goalkeepers was a mate of mine, his daughter, and she was afraid to come out for balls and come out and go down at one-on-one. So to alleviate that problem, he signed her up for boxing. She turned into the hardest nutter I've ever seen in my life. I'm not even joking. She'd go in for one ball, one-on-one, and she'd clean someone out of it. That was the last time that person went near her for a one-on-one. I'm telling you now. She was tough as bricks when she got going. So yeah, I'm all on for playing different sports and getting a little harder and just understanding that a fair challenge can be as hard as you want as long as it's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is a big difference. It is a big difference for me. Is going in to hurt somebody and going to injure somebody. Going in to hurt somebody does not mean you want to injure them. It just means you want to physically dominate them. And this is a contact sport. And that's allowed. And that's how it, for me, that's how it should be played, is you want to dominate your opponent. Now, in defense, you dominate your opponent physically so that they know they're in a game. In attack, that's not necessarily the same, unless you are Drunken Ferguson or something like that, that just dominates everybody that he comes across physically. But I think it's one of those things where if you're in a position where you can make sure that your opponent knows you are there while fairly and cleanly taking the ball, then it should be done. And there is an art to it. There are certain players, and obviously being of Italian descent, There's been one or two decent defenders come out of there, so it's not a massive surprise that that's the case to me.
No. Yeah,
right, I'm just going to spin through some of the comments. So there's one quite pertinent is Liam B. We need to sign Rodon ASAP. Do we think that there would be a single... other than the strike fetishists, do we think there is anybody that would argue with that?
No.
I don't think so. I think
he's done well enough.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most available option at the level we're looking at since Ben White that we can actually afford and buy. They're not going to go, we want 50 million for him now. Ange Postecoglou came out there on Saturday evening and said he has no plans for him in the future. Just sign the man up.
Yeah. Okay. Liam B again. Morning, Scooby. Brilliant weekend for Leeds in so many ways. And we will come on to that very quickly.
We will.
Scooby says, I ran away with it in the second half and the results went sweet. Another allusion to the same thing. Liam's been in the comments quite a bit, I see. We need to keep Bamford fit for the running. He's very good at holding the play up. So one of the things that we did see was Bamford start over Joseph. So Matt, from your perspective, we've spoken about this on previous pods. So just to get your perspective on this, do you think Joseph's done enough to get more minutes than he's getting at the moment?
More minutes, yes, maybe 20 minutes. But like people that were saying he must start are like, I'm like, what are you on about? Bamford had 6 goals in like 8 games, and you're saying that Joseph, just because he had one good performance against Chelsea, should start. I mean, I like Joseph, and everyone says, but he's the future. But Bamford's the now.
Yeah,
Joseph can be the future. I'm fine with it, but Bamford's now. Even I know this might be controversial, but next season, I'd sign a striker, but I'll be fine with Bamford being off the bench. And even in first 2 games of the season, give him a start. And just like when we first got promoted, he does well, keeps his spot.
So Perot's not your man for the Premier League then?
Oh God, no. I saw people saying, the Premier, he'll be better in the Prem because the Prem's slower. The Prem's quicker than the Championship.
I think it is. We've talked about that physicality. I think it's less physical in terms of the battles that you have, but the athleticism is another level. It's certainly not slower. Not by any.
Pirro is only 24, so he can maybe improve, but he takes too long on the ball.
I think the problem with that is we're judging him on his previous seasons when he played in a team that for 3 years nearly he knew them inside out. He knew this is his first season for us. You look at Rodrigo. Bamford got injured in the Premier League and Rodrigo stepped up and even in his first season, he still got, I think it was 12 goals when Bamford was out. He got a couple against Burnley and a few others and Spurs and stuff. Look, strikers, they're like Marmite. They take a while to get used to it, and new surroundings. Again, you said he's only 24 as well, so. Yeah, I'm willing, to keep him in the squad, give him a chance. It's a big season. He'll have a full pre-season underneath him under Fark next summer, regardless of what league we'll be in, Premier League, and we can go from there. That's just
he is 6 years behind Bamford. In terms of his development and where he is today. 6 years as a professional footballer is a huge amount of time to learn your craft.
Yeah,
he's not going to be the same player, is he?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that comment after the Leicester game, was it, where your man, some Gombean, went on and said, Leeds fans raving about Archie Gray. He just got dominated by whatever your man was. I'm not even going to attempt his name. And I replied to him, I was like, that dude's got 6 years professional football on a 17-year-old. If he didn't actually dominate him at some point in the game, what does that say about that 6-year more professional footballer? It tells me he's playing in a league that he's not really capable of playing in if he can't dominate a 17-year-old. But, who am I to be saying shit like that?
The only other thing I'd say about the whole Pirro thing is if we're going to sign another striker, you think maybe one of them has to go. And Pirro's kind of the one I would say I would. But, I mean, the problem is you don't know. And, it's all hindsight. But when Pirro has played he's playing like a front two, really. Not really by himself.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think if you look at the value of those players, Bamford is 6 years older. So there's that element to it. Joseph is, as yet, untested. I think it's fair to say, yes, he did have a good performance against Chelsea, but he's not played enough minutes, I think, for anybody to take a punt on him at the kind of level of finance we'd be looking for him. So we do need to sign somebody else. So I think if you look at the minutes that Piro's had, the influence, because he has played pretty well in patches, the influence he's had on the games he has played in, and his history before he joined us, I think probably he's the one that would bring the most money coming in compared with not impacting the resulting squad. So I think that out of the ones we've got available to us, he's probably the one more likely to go. I don't think they get the money back on Rutter. So if we're considering Pirot as more of a 10, I don't think he gets in front of Rutter, and I think we need another 10 anyway. So we need another striker, we need another 10. For me, we're focusing on the negatives when actually this is a brilliant period for us. But yeah, as we look forward, if promotion does come about, then I think that's where we need to see proven players. And I think you're right. Having Paddy available to us, whether that be off the bench or as cover if somebody's unavailable, I would not be averse to that at all.
I mean, I see people get angry when I say stuff like this, but he's proven. He did score 17 goals in a season. That's like, I hate people. Whenever you bring that up, everyone goes, but there was no fans. But the players' quality that he versus are still the same. That doesn't change these opponents.
I agree. I
think that's just a get out of jail card for the Bamford haters.
It is. It absolutely is. There was a comment, and I missed starring it. I can't see it in the comments, but there was a comment. Oh no, it is there. So I'll just pop this one up now. We'll just skip forward. Leeds fans in love with Paddy again. I never fell out of love with him. I always thought he was capable. I thought when he was playing poorly, it was clear that he was playing injured, but we needed him to play, and he was also playing under a coach that was unable to coach. So, for me, I never felt any differently about him. It was just a shame that actually he couldn't finish some of those chances. But when you're playing injured and without confidence, he's the most confidence player I've ever seen. Playing without confidence and while injured, well, what do we expect?
I mean, look at that second goal we scored. Like, he held off his man, which that defender was massive.
And that's a hell of a touch to be able to pick out Rutter in that way for him to be able to set onto it. That's a hell of a touch around the corner, that. So, yeah, absolutely. Liam B again. So I think this is the question around if we are champions, who picks up the trophy? I think this is Cooper for sure. He's club captain.
Yeah.
When?
I fully 100% ascribe to that sort of thinking.
I mean, he's leaving the club as well, so,
Yeah, it's his testimonial season.
Right around the ground.
Yeah.
If we win, it would be great.
And I also remember, I want to see a replay of him in bed hugging the trophy with a beer as well. I mean, it was just a great time. So no, for me, it would be Cooper. It would be the choice.
Yeah.
Paul Brennan, he loves it, doesn't he? When Barry Bannon was on the team sheet for the Owls, I thought, no, he was supposed to be doubtful. He made the Owls tick, but we managed a hard-fought victory, 3 vital points. They all are now, aren't there? There's no getting away from it. The amount of pressure that's on these sides at the top now, and you can see some of it. You can see some of it telling already. The amount of pressure on them must be unreal. In terms of the position we're in the league, Matt, do you ascribe to I'd rather have points on the board, or I'd rather be chasing than being chased?
I'd rather have points on the board, 100%. And like,
so you'd rather be Leicester than us?
Wait.
No. Like with games in hand, I'd rather have points on the board because the pressure is far, far more to win games in hand if you're chasing. We're still chasing, but I'd rather have those points on the board than have games in hand. I think that the games in hand is a far, far bigger pressure, especially at the business end of the season. One of them is against Leicester and the other one's against Preston. No mugs at all. So I'd much rather have the points on the board.
So we're more thinking Maresca and Leicester. So they're 3 points in front of us, play the same number of games. Their goal difference is one more better than ours. Yeah. They were 17 points ahead. Their goal difference was, I think, 16 better than ours when they were 17 points in front of us. We've whittled both of those down with 3 points behind them and 1 goal behind them. And that was the context of the question is same number of games, but our form compared with they've lost 3 in the last 6.
Yeah.
So and they drew yesterday. So no, they've lost 3 in the last 7 and they drew yesterday. So in that context, I ask the question again: do you want to be chased or do you want to be chasing?
Chasing. Yes, chasing. Yes, that's the one.
I want to be chasing.
Fair. I think we all agree. I think for me, I agree. The pressure is more on Leicester, having been where they were and how far in front they were, and their fans having celebrated winning the championship in November, and all of those receipts that have started coming out about us not being in the championship title race and whatever else.
Come on, boys.
I would also rather be the one that's doing the chasing close behind. I'm not wanting to be in Southampton's spot right now, but being close behind, I would rather chase than be chased. So
touching distance.
It is, absolutely. Chris asks, he says, love the bobble at Gilly. Where do you get it from, please? I got it from a person that's rather special to me. And just while I mention that, also, happy Mother's Day to all of those mums out there. I can't remember, it does have, I'll share some detail of it. I can't remember where it comes from, but it's ace, and I love it.
Looks warm, man. I'm not going to lie. The first time I saw it, I was like, I love a good hat, and that's a good hat. That.
Next comments, Paul Brennan. The fruit salad kit hasn't been bad so far. We are winning in the kit. I think actually we went a long time, didn't we? Wearing that. So even down to we played away from home, but we played in our home kit. We picked up 3 points. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek that it's solely down to the kits that we got relegated and that we were poor away compared with our home form. And it's a little bit, being facetious about it. But that is how much it annoys me that they can't just get simple kits right.
And I wouldn't mind, right? But it was a Leeds fan that designed this season's kits. I think he got the home
Acid
one.
FC, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he got the home one bang on. I love the peacock imprint in it. That's subtle as hell.
Yeah.
Love that. The blue one that Matt's got on there now is probably the closest we've gotten to a proper blue kit for a long time, since probably the Kappa one with no sponsor on it.
Yeah.
So I do have a soft spot for it, and I do like the peacock theme running through that blue kit as well. It's kind of an identity thing that we're looking to go with, and I think it's good. I like it.
I have to say I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Just before you go on to the next comment, Gilly, I've got one here from Jay, but I also want to put something up here. I'm going to try and be a bit technical here now, Gilly. So
here we go.
All right. So we've got this from Jay. He was like, from Paul Brennan rather. Barry Bannon's hair might have gone, but he never gives up for the cause. Thank God. We came away with first win since 2016. But anytime I see Barry Bannon, this is the guy I think of when his hair is just all over the place. That's what I think Barry Bannon looks like on the football pitch. And I just wanted to bring that up there because I can do technical stuff now, so it's not too bad.
You can. Well done. Well done. It's been a lot of draws. There were one bad 3-0 defeat by them, 2016, 17, somewhere around that time. And since then, it's just been a big bunch of draws. So it's not been a happy hunting ground. I don't know if you remember that 3-0. It was, I can't remember what that he kind of was a midfielder come defender. He got forward and, it was a long ball. And it was just, they were awful. They were just awful. And they had that big lump. Is it Nuhiu? You pronounce it?
Yeah.
And they'd spent 11 million or whatever it was on Jordan Rhodes, which is the joke about them talking about us being able to bring on 11 million pound Piro. When they spent that nearly 10 years ago on Jordan Rhodes. So they can just get in the bin. Yeah, there is no need for it. So that was the next comment. So I'll unstar that one now. Paul Brennan again, though. Ampadu's my player of the season. Wears the famous number 4 shirt with so much pride. King of kings, captain of all captains, Billy Bremner. Number 4 will be so proud of Ampadu. Respect Ampadu. It might have been Billy Bremner if I'd seen him, but my favourite player also wore 4. And it was because he didn't give a shit and he'd battle anybody. And that's David Batty, obviously. So I think being able to see 4s that'll put the foot in and they'll take on all comers and whatever else. It's things you love to see.
Yeah.
Scooby, touching on that, I'm liking the defensive pride. It's like even if you're 4-0 up in the last minute, they're determined to get that clean sheet, and it is like that, isn't it? It does come across that way. They are determined that that's my goal, and you're not getting it.
And they also trust each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
However, Bryn's in the comments and highlighting somebody that didn't necessarily have the best first half, albeit got a very good assist at the end of it. We gave ball away a lot needlessly, and Firpo was struggling like mad defensively but that unreal ball in for Bamford. I think that's probably a fair summation of his first half. He did struggle. He was causing himself issues more than anything else, I would say, rather than them really impacting him. Positionally, just wasn't there. I think he is somebody that we do expect to be more offensive. Sam Byram is a more solid defender and does get well forward, to be fair to him. But I think Firpo's that little bit better. I think if you look at some of the assists that Firpo's got, he's compared to his minutes on the pitch, he's done well. So I think that is a fair summation of his first half. Oliver's a name I've not seen before, so welcome along if you're a new listener / watcher of the pod. Yes, teams target Rutter and Somerville. Their stats, goals and assists, make it an obvious tactic by any team setting up against us. Somebody did mention it, and I don't know if this one got starred. Yeah, it did. I'm just going to pop up Acum Tony 1919. Rutter just 1 assist behind Leif Davis, 14-13. They're the top 2 assist getters in the league at the moment, and everybody's talking about Leif Davis. Rutter's right up there. He's right up there.
Like most of his assists are like lucky. Like they just like it just pops to someone and they have a striker that goes in. Like he has like the weirdest passes. They're just like, I will take it.
But he's one of them, isn't he? I think he's one of them that we've spoken about changes being made during the game and the subs that we want to bring on and so on. Rutter stays on because he does do that. He's got that something extra about him where he can do that thing that other players can't quite do and can't read him doing. And that's where he creates the chances from. Sorry, Carl,
I think a lot of the Leif Davis love, regardless of whether he's got 14 assists, I think he's getting more attention because he's a left back. And as a defender, you generally tend to get the odd assist here and there. And it's kind of unheard of for a left back to get 13 assists or 14 assists in a season. So I think sometimes where the player plays positional wise, I think that sometimes can egg him up a bit. Like, you know, our best assister is our left back and yours is your, number 10 and he's still not as good as our left back. It's like, yeah, but if Leif Davis had only got 4 bleeding assists all season, would you be raving about him then? Like, it swings and roundabouts for me. Like,
it is, but I think a lot of it is also how impactful those assists have been when it's been late in the game and he's been setting up winners. That's one of the things that was so enjoyable about yesterday and Cardiff getting the win was that they out Ipswich. Somebody did say on Twitter that Ipswich were going to get their winner on the 79th minute. I think I'm right in saying that actually what happened there was they scored their goal on 79 minutes and then Cardiff got 2 after 90 minutes, which is just brilliant. So I'd already retweeted and go, wow, when somebody said 79 minutes. I'm like, I think it was about 85, and I'm like, Jesus, have you got some lottery numbers for me? And then Cardiff went and did what they did, and it was just brilliant. And I think that there was a lot of joy, and it was alluded to, I don't know if you got to watch it, but it was alluded to in the studio after the game quite a lot, that would have been cheered at least as much in Leeds as it would have been in Cardiff.
I'll be honest with you, I put it in the group chat, man, and I celebrated that Cardiff second like it was a Leeds goal. I'm not going to lie. I was up off the couch. I didn't have to kick the dog, didn't have to do it, and I just shouted. It was great.
Did you see there was like someone on Twitter that said Leicester should have had another penalty, but Jamie Vardy dives twice.
He did. Yeah. He absolutely did dive twice. Just in terms of cheering another team's goal, it wasn't quite at that level because it doesn't quite have the same context, but it did give me shades of Emil Smith Rowe for Huddersfield Town. Leeds United legend that's never played for Leeds.
Watch me like.
We'll spin through. So here come Tony 1919 again. Hi all from Germany. I've been buzzing so much this year I could supply a power station. I think we're all feeling some of that, aren't we?
You might help us out here in the UK, Tony.
Oh, brain. I'm not having this. Tyler Roberts and Somerville in same sentence for shame. Only in so much as they potentially overplay at times. I did not compare them.
He's really putting you out to dry there, isn't he?
Isn't he? Yeah. Danny, friend of the pod, not Lily's podcast. Gilly looks like Big Bird's little cousin. I'm assuming that's more to do with the hat than anything else, but with Danny, who knows?
Yeah. He'll have a gif of some sort put up now soon enough anyway.
He will. It'll be there when I come off here. Paul Brennan, we've got 9 massive cup finals to go, and this league is brutal, and anyone can beat anyone. Millwall on Sunday is tricky. Neil Harris is back in town, and he will get Millwall up for this match. Matt, I'm going to ask you about this one. So you mentioned, so we touched on Somerville, and you mentioned about the potential for him getting a rest and being starting on the bench, maybe starting Dan James and Nonto in a game. We've got 9 days actually from Wednesday through to Millwall. Is that enough of a rest? And you start him? We're still winning.
Well, I mean, you don't change a winning team. I was actually surprised that Dan James didn't start ahead of Nonto, to be honest, because I think Dan James just been better than him this season, and he's earned his start. But yeah, I'll keep Somerville in.
Okay, I'll expand the question. And Nonto?
I'm fine with Nonto, but I'd rather Dan James.
But you don't change your winning team.
Yeah, but we win with Dan James. And he has more goal involvements.
See, I think this is the kind of headache as fans that we really wanted to have.
He's called the winner against start.
Like we went for years without any decent wingers. After Snodgrass left and a few others, we went for years and we were screaming out for wingers. Now we've got an abundance of players who can play in that position. I'm delighted with this headache. Delighted. And I think, what you say is James can win us a game. But I think bringing James off the bench at the moment, Willie is playing well enough to keep his place, in my opinion. But bringing Dan James off the bench, we said it earlier, Gilly, it's an absolute... I don't even have the words that'll leave us on air for long enough to describe what it means. You know what I mean? I think I just...
let's put it into some context for you. How far a cry is it from Cameron Stewart and Jimmy Kebby?
They were the two that were in my head when I was talking about it. Because it's like, what in the world was that? Oh, but yeah. Sorry.
I've been seeing them play for Reading now. We're actually quite excited about them before they ever put the kit on.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I was too, because they played for Brian McDermott at Reading.
Yeah.
And that was kind of something I was like, oh, he knows how they play. He knows this. He knows that.
Yeah.
Garbage. But anyway.
Russ Vernon, Life of a Journalist, a friend of the pod. He's also in the comments. Did you see Ross McCormack in the away end? I don't know if you saw this. Did you see this one?
Yeah.
I saw the video. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I think it's one of those. So they're all chanting about him, and then it all shh. And then he starts off the Furpo chant, and it just goes off again. It's just, if you've not seen the video, go find it because it's great. Yeah, and he is one of those that I think that we look back on. He was so good for us during the time that he was at the club, and regardless of what's happened since and whatever else. But while he was at the club, he was so good for us in such an abject period at our club that he is fondly remembered.
Yeah,
so it is good to see him getting involved.
You find out a lot of players.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and how many would you actually see go into the away game and being on the concourse with the fans and not in a box somewhere and whatever else? I think it's quite a big deal to see him there. Yeah. Bryn says, my D-Dar mate said they really miss Pervader. Mad how he's so key for them, but struggled to get on bench for us. Serious level difference. He did well at Blackburn before he had a fairly serious injury, didn't he, towards the end of the season? But he'd done all right. Blackburn spoke highly of him. He feels like he's one of those players that might have the talent, not necessarily the aptitude. No, I've got that wrong. The aptitude, not necessarily the attitude. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he did well in pre-season. I thought he was going to give it a chance. But...
Well, the thing is as well, like, there's a reason Tony Mowbray tried to send some poor chap out on loan so he could free up a loan space to bring him in at Birmingham. He couldn't get anyone out. That's the only reason he went to Sheffield Wednesday, is because Tony Mowbray couldn't get anyone out the door to free up a loan space. And Tony Mowbray has been around the block a long time, and he can recognise a decent player when he sees one. And he clearly made an impression on him at Blackburn to try and shift someone out the door to make room for him. Like,
yes, but so did Stuart Nkebe with McDermott. So precautions, I think, is probably a fair comment. Just spinning through the last few comments. So Jacob Tony again. When we go up, it will only because there is no COVID. I think that's slightly naughty, that comment, isn't it? I think that might be a reference to our friend Karen.
Yeah.
So we'll just move past that one. Herbert's in the comments that Ampadu Gruev Rodon axis is near enough faultless, is what he's saying. I think it's really difficult to argue against three kicks and corners aside, 12 clean sheets from open play, 12 clean sheets in a row. It's really difficult to argue against the comment.
But it like, it's mad. You say we've conceded 3 from open play earlier, which was worrying. But when you look at it, like,
not from open play.
Sorry, not from open play. Yeah. But you look at, even October, November time, we were conceding quite a few from set pieces. And to say since the turn of the year we've only conceded 3 from set pieces, like that comment is spot on. It's like I was saying earlier, that the triangle between Rodon, Ampadu and Meslier coincides with how the triangle between the 3 there at the bottom play as well. Like, so it's all about cohesion in certain areas, and I think we're really starting to nail that home. Like,
I think that's fair, and I'm going to be slightly naughty here as well, and just point out that prior to the 3 of them playing together, we had Stroik in the team. But one of the other things that I would say is the early glimpses we got of Gruev, I absolutely did not see this coming. And I know that he was being played further forward. And I know that a defensive-minded player coming on during a game, it's not really the same as bringing an impactful player further forward on. You're looking for the energy. You're looking for them to get on the ball and make something happen. It's a different dynamic when you're bringing somebody defensive-minded on. And he was being played more as an 8 than the 4 that he's playing now. And getting to see anybody that would call that a 6, because a 6 is a centre back, and I'm not having any difference. So I think, I don't think anybody saw Gruev having the impact that he's had this season when we got those early glimpses. Is that fair to say?
I think so. Yeah, I was talking to one of the lads in work there recently, and I basically, Gruev came from Germany when we bought him. And I thought, obviously, the German league it's far different to how things pan out in the Championship. But for him to come over here as a player coming from Germany, but to have a German coach who understands the English league, I think that's why he started to progress the way he has. He's kind of drip fed him into the team, seeing where his strong points are, seeing what he needs to work on, and he's obviously seen in training that he's worked on all that, and he knows exactly what his positional awareness is meant to be like now within certain areas. And I think a lot of that has to do with Farke, his turn in form. Like, I was like you, Gilly, I genuinely didn't hold much hope from. He looked a bit lightweight in midfield. I wasn't sure about his passing, because that Stoke game kind of gave me the shits a little bit when he was letting it go and it wasn't finding the ball, and it was just a little all over the place. But I think Farke has done an amazing job on Gruev at the moment, and long may it continue, if I'm honest.
And that dynamic that is built with Kamara as well. You know, Kamara's the more mobile. He moves around. So it feels to me like Gruev anchors it. Sometimes he'll drop into the back line, but more often than not, he'll just sit. And Kamara does that chasing and harassing of teams if they've got the ball, and he'll go out of that position to win the ball back, and he'll press. And Gruev will be that anchor. And I think that the dynamic between them works really, really well. I think that is fair. To me, Gruev, he doesn't look like your typical footballer. You know, when he's running, he runs like not kneed. His legs aren't really. He doesn't really spread his legs in the way that Kamara does when he's sprinting and whatever else. It just doesn't look like your typical footballer, and it's great to see somebody actually go, whoa, how well's he doing? And being able to be nicely surprised about that. I think he's great, rather than what we had prior of this footballer looked brilliant, and then you see him in a Leeds shirt and you're like, what on earth are you doing? It's nice for it to be the other way around.
It was bad, wasn't it? For a while.
Jonesy, really nice, clean, crisp, straightforward. We're going up as fucking champions, lads. We'll have some of that. Paul Brennan, Conor Roberts is the man for shithousery. Leeds United's very own Clark Gable with his 40s style tash. I'm not having any of this tash at all. It's dirty, it's disgusting, and it needs to go.
He looks like what Smarty says in our intro.
I do love him though. I think he's a great addition. Not only does it, you know, he's been at this level. He's played. He's got promoted at this level. He's played at a higher level, albeit, you know, this season he didn't get much of an opportunity. Don't think he did that much wrong. He's kind of been there, done that, bought the t-shirt kind of thing in terms of getting a promotion. So when you've got somebody like, so Paddy's been through it with us, some of the other players as well, but largely the squad has changed. Obviously, Cooper's still in the squad, but he's not playing regularly. So I think Melier was there, but the bare bones, and that's it, of the side that got that promotion. So being able to bring somebody in that can settle us down. The Leicester game, he came on, he got the goal. It was a big deal. But also you see the leadership in him. You know, he'll come on, he's talking constantly, he's getting his positioning right. He demands the ball. He wants the ball all the time, and he gets annoyed if it doesn't come out to them. The dynamic he's got with Dan James, obviously they've played together quite a lot through the Wales setup and whatever else, and at Swansea. But you know, they've got an understanding straight off the bat. And Dan James has been effective, and having him behind him as well allows him to be even more so. So I do love him. I think he's a really good addition to the squad, but I'm not having any of that tash.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And then Bandy, the finished table, he has won Leeds United, Southampton, Ipswich, then Leicester. Now that would be a significant wheels coming off.
God. And then Ipswich in the playoffs, right?
I'm going to put my head above
I think
the
Hull might be a shout for the playoffs right now.
I was just going to say Hull to win the playoffs, regardless of who they play. I think Hull, because of the other three teams, because obviously we're winning it now. Of the other three teams, psychologically, that's going to absolutely mess you up if you end up in the playoffs after where you've been all season. Hull, again, they're in the chasing position. Their head is in the same, frame as ours. Chase until you catch them. That's going to help Hull. I think Hull will go up. I don't care who they play out of them three in the playoffs. They're going to go up.
And if you look at, I don't know if you've been able to see the highlights of the Leicester Hull game. Hull got a penalty that definitely was a penalty, and they missed it. It was saved. And then, as Matt pointed out, they got a penalty from 2 Berardi dives. And it's I think it's very lucky that they even got a point out of that. So 3 losses on the bounce, then a win. I mean, they'd lost to QPR.
Yeah.
So,
the fact that Hull can go
and the fact that Hull can go and really take it to them, I think Hull are the side that ideally you want to avoid in the playoffs and hope somebody else does a job against them, so you don't play them in the final, because I think they're the one that I would want to avoid if the worst should happen. they're the one that I would want to avoid.
Take that attitude and park it outside, Gilly. All right.
Having said that, we've spoken about what Leeds he is, and Farke's history at this level. I do not. It's back in our hands again now, and there's going to be other twists and turns. It's far from a done deal. But out of all of the gaffers that are leading, Ipswich have had a marvellous season, and I suspect that they'll struggle to replicate this if they're the one that don't get promoted off the back of the season. I think that they're the one that will probably struggle to keep it going on the principle that not only have they had a remarkable season, but that I don't think that they'll keep hold of their gaffer. I think out of, you consider Southampton and Leicester, their managers are on the pitch at the end of every game now, having a go at the ref and doing whatever else. And even if we've lost, you don't see Farke doing that.
No.
I mean, it's been such a long time since that happened.
Even the players.
It's not going to be
players
doing
don't do it either. Just walk off.
Yeah.
Move on.
So,
I mean, Leicester and Ipswich play next as well. So, Leicester and Southampton.
Yeah, after the cup game, well, it's postponed now. That's they've got 2 games in hand now, Southampton. But like we were saying earlier, points on the board for me rather than games in hand.
Do you know, I might have got something wrong with Leicester. I'm not certain whether they actually got a penalty from that. It was Fatawu that dived for their penalty.
Yeah, they got the first half one, but they didn't get a penalty in the second half.
No, the Vardy dive wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, I thought, I thought it might go right. Yeah, Fatawu. I mean, that for me is hip to hip, which is just that's fine. That's a challenge that you're allowed to make. It's not a non-contact sport, but he threw himself down. So that does bring us on to nicely. So those are the comments that we'd started as we've been going through. Thank you everybody for your comments, because it's very, very difficult to get through them all. But it does allow us, to assess the way of feeling in the comments and whatever else. But I think if we just touch on what happened yesterday, so beyond our game, I think that so we'll go Leicester first, and we've said that Hull have got an impetus. Philogene looks very, very good for them. I think if you look at the form guide at the moment, they are right up there. But I've been putting money on Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton all to win for weeks now. For absolute weeks now. And I'm going to be really worse off by the end of the season, but I'm not stopping. I'm not doing it. I'm not stopping, because then it'll be my fault, won't it? But Leicester travelled to Hull yesterday. Did we really think that Hull would get anything? Matt, I'll come to you first on this one. Or was it hope rather than expectation?
I mean, the way Leicester have been playing recently, I was like, they could win it, because I think Hull play really good football, and I think they've started to play really well. I was like, they could win it, but I thought Leicester were going to win it, especially after the penalty save. I was like, they're going to win this now, like 2-3-0.
Yeah, but what a masterstroke it was for us not to sign Carvalho, who then made up for the penalty miss.
Yep.
Yeah,
Carvalho and Philogene, at this level, us aside, and probably Leicester aside, let's be fair, are probably as good as you get at this level.
Yeah.
So, go on.
I think the bottom 6 in the Premier League and the top 6 in the Championship, it's very little between them. Very little. I think anyone in the top 6 of the Championship has as good a chance at staying up this season in the Premier League as any of the bottom 6. They're all shocking at the moment. Like, they're absolutely shocking, and I think that just proves a point that you should. I think there should be a playoff between. Right, hear me out. This is just a rattle that was going on in my head one time. So top 2 go up automatically from the Championship.
Yeah.
Then you have the promotion as normal. And then in the final, the winner of the final of the playoffs plays the bottom of the Premier League in a final, in an actual playoff final. And that will determine.
They do that in They do that in Germany, in the Bundesliga.
Oh, do they?
I think, first 2 get promoted, then third place play bottom of the league.
I'd be happy enough with that. Like, I think that's a far better way than the playoffs that go on. Like, because it'll just show up the team that are getting relegated even more then, because if the championship team beat them, you're like, you definitely don't deserve to be there, lads. Good luck. See you. But I don't know, yeah. I wouldn't like to be in that position, but I think it's a great way of doing it.
Yeah, and you know, I think I've not spent a lot of time. I spent no time at all looking at the Championship while we were not in it, and I spent very little time looking at the Premier League while we're out of it. But I think if you look at how abject Luton, Sheffield United, and Burnley have been, and everybody expected Burnley to do well, I think, having done so well in the Championship, how abject they've been has really, really done massive favours for the likes of Forest and Everton, who I really, really wanted to see relegated. But it's been abject. And even the likes of Bournemouth that were decent early on in the season, Brentford are awful. You know, the quality, I think that it's bad luck for us that we're not there this season, because I think we'd have been mid-table quite comfortably, even with the Rats. If it had been a different season, we'd have been mid-table quite comfortably. So I think we are unlucky. Having said that, this has been a marvellous season so far, and if it ends on a high, then I'd take it. I think everybody else would too.
I've seen people, like, I saw some people on Twitter, like, I don't know, they're like angry because we're not 2-0 up or 3-0 up every game at halftime. And I'm like, next season we're going to lose more games than we win, so enjoy it.
Yeah. And do you know what? This is the comment. So Smarty's in the comments as well. We need to go in auto places. We'll shit out in the playoffs.
Yep.
The point I was making about as not being Leedsy, because this is Daniel Farke's Leeds, and Daniel Farke's Leeds don't concede those stupid goals. You know, they don't dominate and then get the sucker punch later on. And maybe, just maybe, if the worst should happen, then Daniel Farke's Leeds will just make it through the playoffs with no dramas at all. 3-0, 3-0, 3-0 in all 3 games. No problem at all. But let's avoid it if we can, eh?
Please, if you wouldn't mind, Gilly, that'd be great, yeah.
So that's the Leicester game. And then let's talk Ipswich, because I really enjoyed this one. So we did see Ipswich go to Cardiff. It was the for me, it was a game. You know, we've gone to Cardiff and we've struggled so many times, and I'm looking at that fixture. I'm thinking that could be won. Your Cardiff are just kind of skirting around the possibility of getting into the playoffs still. You know, some of the sides are dropping away. I think Sunderland, especially a Sunderland without Jack Clarke, who I don't think is particularly good, but at this level is a slightly above average winger. But they put everything through him, so he's so important to them. And without him, until I think late April, I think Sunderland are just going to be nowhere come the end of it. Cardiff are a side that are kind of done the opposite. They're now 6 points in front of Sunderland, who everybody was saying had been having such a good season. They're joint with Preston, who have had a decent season. And they are not that far away from the top 6. So I think there is still the potential there. When I was looking at it, there's a potential there for them to get those points. But then Ipswich score in 79 minutes. Let's be honest, Carl. Did you ever see anything else happening other than an Ipswich win once that happens?
No, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I thought they'd get another late jammy goal again just to seal it. But I was very much over the moon with the fact that, like you put it perfectly. I quoted you as well and everything from the group chat. Ipswich getting Ipswiched in the 99th minute. I just thought that, like, that could nearly be our first
minute of 98 minutes.
Yeah, that could nearly be our first piece of merchandising on a T-shirt or something along them lines. You know what I mean? I thought that was just perfect, and for that to happen straight away, like when I think you put it in at 1-1 or something, didn't you? And then they got or did you put it in at 2-1?
I can't remember. I would enjoying it so much. I'm not 100% sure.
Honest to God, I laughed my head off when you put that in, and it was just because their fans were already singing at the Leicester or the Cardiff fans, going, "Oh, we can see you sneaking out," and and it was like, "Hold your horses there now, lads. You might want to back up and take a shit on your own face there for a second and just be like, whoa, hold on." Because I thought, yeah, that's karma right there. That's where in my head, they were thinking, yeah, we've just been lucky most of the season here with these late wins and I'm delighted that happened. That might bring them down a peg or two now.
And something like that can really impact a side, can't it? Because they've been kind of riding on this crest of a wave with the momentum that they've had. It's been late goals, it's been deflected goals, and the fact that it were 2 late goals, one of them deflected, is just even better for them to concede. But a lot of people have talked about luck. Now, I do ascribe to the comment, the quote. It's strange because the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. They've had a good season because they've deserved to have a good season. There's nobody taking that away from them. But at the same time, there has been an element of luck. And a lot of people have spoken quite negatively about them, saying it can't last. And here they are still going. You know, they were talking about the Asia Cup and AFCON and everything else and the impact to Leicester, to Ipswich, to losing Sam Morsey, who I don't think actually went anywhere in the end for the Asia Cup.
No.
But there were thoughts about losing out on league positions because they'll lose key figures. They don't have the depth of the squad that Saints have, that we have, that Leicester have. But they're still there, and they're still there because they deserve to be, because they've had a really good season. You do just wonder whether 1 or 2 defeats will just knock them, because we've spoken about how important confidence and momentum is. So I think it's a pretty big deal. And it is great to see them being Ipswich. It just is. I just really enjoyed that so much.
It's oddly satisfying.
Speaking about like them being able to get into the playoffs now, I mean, Huddersfield have beaten West Brom right now 1-0.
No way, you serious?
Yeah.
And it is a real remarkable season, really, isn't it? If you look at the points tallies, Rotherham are gone. But I've just got it up in front of me now. You've got 38 points for Sheffield Wednesday and Huddersfield, 39 for Birmingham and QPR, 41 takes you to 17th, 43 you're in mid-table, and that's Swansea in 15th. They're only 5 points away from the relegation spots.
Yeah,
it's really strange. So, and then I suppose, If there is any negative at all to be taken away from the day, which is really, 99% of it was brilliant, or the 2 days, including our win, was Saints being pulled back from 2-0 down to being 2-2. And then, so Saints made changes. They lost grip of the game. They ended up at 2-2. They made more changes, and they ended up 4-2, and they ran out comfortable winners in the end. That is testament to what I'm saying about is the opposite to Ipswich, is Saints have got a squad they can call upon. We've got a very strong bench. I wouldn't swap our bench for anybody's, to be fair. And then Leicester have got a really strong bench, and Ipswich don't have that same impetus coming from the bench. So who knows, I think, is the point. Who knows? But the one thing I will say is Bryn was really annoyed that we didn't go and sign Kiefer Moore, and I was saying he's a big donkey, I don't want him. And he scored 6 in 9 and has been very impactful for them. So fair play there, but I won't swap him for any of the players that we're playing at the minute.
Their downfall came when he got taken off yesterday. Their slide into getting beaten came off exactly when they took him off, because they'd no outball, they'd no big man to hold it up for them up front. There was none of that, and it was actually very obvious to see that, like you said, Giddy, he's had a massive impact now. 6 in 9 games is quite a good return for a player that's on loan at a team. But he was the catalyst for them doing that. I think taking him off was probably the most stupid thing that Kieran McKenna's done all season, because he's been good at the old judgment calls, but I think that was terrible. Let's give them the opportunities.
Equally, if you think that you've got a game in the balance, and you've got the ability to rest what is actually a key player for you, then it's those fine margins and those decisions that managers will live and die by, isn't it? And we pontificate about the changes that we see are needed, and we do have a stronger bench. But they've also got to make the most of a small squad. So, you can see why they would make certain changes. But they do concede a lot of goals. And I think that is a theme that they've had all season. They've just been outscoring the opposition, haven't
Yeah, the problem there is as well, though, they took it for granted that when they took him off, that they had the beating of Cardiff. And let's be honest, it's not the easiest place to go. I think it's always a potential banana skin for any team that goes there, regardless of whether you are in the league, because they feel like outsiders because they're Wales and they're not, England, and they have a point to prove, and they've this and that. So I think, yeah,
they should be in our leagues. There's a Welsh league that can go get in that.
Yeah, you could do that way. But yeah, I think it was a big mistake from McKenna to take more off. I think you never underestimate, especially if you're playing away from home. You don't underestimate a home team, regardless. Especially one as annoying as Cardiff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to flash up this question. We're not going to answer it now, but I think we'll touch on this on the main pod through the week. CB asked, does Pascal get back in when he's fit? How do you drop either Rodon or Ampadu? We're not going to get into it now because we've already spoken just how highly we regard that. Well, I suppose it's a trifecta, including Gruev. But it's just brilliant that we've got this squad. It's just fantastic, and so hopefully that'll just carry us through to the end of the season. So I've just got a couple of things to mention that are not related to the game. So I'll just come to each of you. So Carl, anything else to raise at this point before we bring it to a close?
Not particularly, no. I think just see it out now and go for gold.
Fairs, Matt, anything else to add?
Take it one game at a time.
Cheers, lads. So yeah, just a couple of things. So I just want to mention again. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers watching, and just the last one is it's getting close now. I have been trying to get some more miles in. It is getting close now. So on the 23rd of this month, it is only 13 days away. I'm looking for some. The podcast and the Leeds branch of Andy's Man Club will be walking a significant number of miles all the way around Leeds. And we'll be taking in all of the sites of Leeds. We'll be going through Little London, skirting Chapeltown, through Cross Green and East End Park, the real nice bits. To see all of those murals. It's been really gratifying, I think, to be able to see the amount of support, the Uppsala support that's been had. I think the fundraising so far was at £1,414, where they'd hoped to get 500. So that is just amazing, and everybody's really grateful for all the support that we've had. So one final push, anything that you do have that you could put towards it would be brilliant. And thank you to everybody that has. Thank you to everybody that shared it as well. And thank you to everybody that shared our streams and got involved in the comments and liked and subscribed. It does help us because the more likes and the more subscribes we get, the higher up the rankings we get, and therefore the more people can see it. And it allows us a bit more of a platform to just go and deliver some more content. So thank you for everybody to getting involved as well. Thank you to Carl. Thank you for Matt.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Have a brilliant rest of your weekend. And let's go for fucking champions.
Yo. I like that.